All right, now ever since me and Jack really expressed our disagreements with the AP poll, I've been really excited to do this top 25 week to week where we have the Ben Buzz top 25. And just the AP poll continues to get more and more atrocious week after week, so this is the real top 25 teams. So at number 25, I got South Florida. I think it's a little ridiculous to take them completely out. I dropped them maybe too much, but honestly, I think it's fine. They blew out Boise State. They beat a good Florida team on the road, and they kind of got housed by a great Miami team. It's not enough to knock them out of the top 25 for me. That's where they fall. Then number 24, I got Alabama. And Alabama did get embarrassed by Florida State. They did. And I know that's a good loss, but none of their wins are impressive. And I think they are solid and they have talent, but I just can't do it. I can't put them at 14 like the AP poll has done. Very silly. That's as high as they could possibly go for me currently. But yeah, that's where I have Alabama. And then I got Michigan at 23. Now, they didn't really get embarrassed against Oklahoma. It was a tough road game for their freshman QB. He just wasn't ready for it. And even though it wasn't necessarily all his fault, that's kind of, maybe if he had more experience, this is a very talented team still. And I think Underwood certainly has a lot of room to grow. And this week against Nebraska is going to be huge. If they don't win this game, that is bad news for Michigan. They'll certainly be out, and we'll have to see what happens in that game. Then at number 22, we got the Missouri Tigers. Now, I know they beat Kansas, but none of them are super impressive. No rank wins, nothing like that. I've kind of just slowly risen them up as the AP poll kind of does. Drinkowitz is a great coach. So even though I'm not too high on Missouri quite yet, which is why I have them reserved at 22, I think they're still pretty solid. And then number 21 is Auburn. Honestly, I think Auburn maybe could go higher. Jackson Arnold's a great QB, of course, transferring over from Oklahoma. Auburn looks really solid, and in that game against Oklahoma this weekend, that is going to be huge. So we'll see how Jackson Arnold ends up moving up, and this whole Auburn team. If they win that game, sky's the limit for Auburn. We'll see how that plays out. But I don't see that. I think it could be unlikely. Oklahoma's very solid, but very interesting matchup there. All right, now for the next 5 teams. Mississippi State falls at 20 for me. That win against Arizona State is still very impressive to me. They've had a pretty solid schedule. Not crazy, and last week they blew out a team, but week 1 they played a Southern Miss team that was supposed to be on the come-up, and even though they were close with them for a minute, they ended up pulling away. And then the Arizona State game, very impressive to me. And some of these teams, especially the ones behind them that the AP poll actually has ahead of them, haven't done things as impressive as Mississippi State. They fall at 20 for me. Then we got Indiana, and this is a tricky team to rank because Mendoza, the new QB, is still settling in. And this game where you see where I have Illinois, it's going to be 16 versus 19 in my eyes, and it's going to be very interesting. I think Indiana has the ability to win that game, and they're at home, so that's going to be very tricky for Illinois on the road. Then I had Ole Miss at number 18. This is a little tricky one for me. I think 13 is atrocious, and they're not the 13th. Especially in an AP poll, they should not be number 13. Very ridiculous, and Lane Kiffin's a good coach, but I cannot put them that high. And then number 17, I got Iowa State. I think their QB, Rocco Becht, is certainly a great player, and their coach, Matt Campbell, is great, but I dropped in some spots after last week due to that performance against Arkansas State, and I know they won, but that's a team that they really shouldn't have issues with, and they really did struggle. They only won by 8. They were tied in the fourth quarter at one point, I believe. It was too close. That's all it is. It was too close, and so I have to drop them a little bit. Same thing with Ole Miss. It was too close 2 weeks in a row. I got to drop them a little bit. And then Illinois, this is just a team, no fault of their own that I dropped them simply because other teams behind them I kind of either trust more or they've done more, and that's where Illinois kind of falls for me. And even though I think that they're certainly a top team, and if they beat Indiana, I think I will slide them up there in the top 10. But for now, that's where I have them until they prove themselves against teams that I either feel better about or just simply have done more. All right, now we start to get into my top 15. So at 15, I got Tennessee, and I had thought it was atrocious for them to be 15 last week when they hadn't done much to solidify their statement in the rankings, and such a jump as well. They moved up 7 spots, if you remember that. But they proved it. They proved themselves. They proved they're a top 15 team in the nation, and now I moved them up to 15, where the AP poll already had them there before they proved themselves. But yeah, I have them at 15 now, and Vanderbilt I have a little ahead of them. Vanderbilt. What a performance. They soundly beat South Carolina. And South Carolina was kind of on upset alert for a minute. They didn't play great against a Virginia Tech team that just fired their coach because they were, started 0-3. Very bad start for Virginia Tech. And that's a team that South Carolina barely beat, where it's like if you were kind of looking, you could kind of see this coming. And I didn't pick Vanderbilt to win that game against South Carolina, but I did start moving South Carolina down. Wasn't as high on them as the committee was, but still wasn't on the money. Like I said earlier, was late to the party on Vanderbilt. I think they slide at 14 for me. Then Georgia Tech, I got him at 13. Haynes King is spectacular. That was a great game-winning drive, great field goal to solidify it against Clemson. Georgia Tech is great. And then I got Texas Tech at 12. This is one of those teams where I feel really good about them, and especially with this matchup against Utah. I mean, it's going to be really tricky. We'll see how it plays out. But I really like Texas Tech in this. Their QB's been playing great. He almost passed for 500 yards last week. They've been playing great. 3-0 start. And I know they haven't played anybody, but I really feel good about them. And against that Utah team, I know I picked Utah, but this game is going to be insane. And then that's where I kind of slide Texas. Honestly, if we're being honest, they might be too high. I'm really not high on Texas. But, I mean, if at the end of the day, are you saying, like, in a head-to-head, you think they'll beat Texas Tech or Georgia Tech? Like, I don't know. But they haven't played great. And that Ohio State game should not be a showing of things to come. It should be showing improvements week to week. And I felt like we kind of saw that against San Jose State and really didn't against UTEP. I really do think Texas needs to figure this out. They really need to get a whole lot better. I give them some grace, and I put them at 11, which, I mean, may still even be too high. I don't know, but I don't think they're top 10 right now. And then at number 10, I had Utah. Now, Utah really looks great. Devin Dampier's electric. And we'll see how they end up playing against Texas Tech in that, for me, 10 versus 12 matchup. And Kyle Whittingham's a great coach, so it's really going to be an interesting matchup. I'm really hyped for this one. Big Noon Saturday is going to be there. It's going to be great. And it's going to be a great atmosphere in Utah, in Salt Lake. And I think it's going to be very interesting. And whoever wins that game is going to jump up, too, as well. And then I had Penn State at number 9. And I have them there because although I think their coach is great and they had a lot of returning talent, and I think this team is a great one, but there's so many teams ahead of them that, once again, have either done more or have kind of looked better. And I think that certainly resembles kind of what I said with Illinois. And Penn State, I mean, they haven't looked great, and they didn't schedule anybody. And now they're going into a bye. Going into that game against Oregon, they're going to be really unprepared. Whoever wins that game is really going to skyrocket in the rankings as well. And then that's where I put Oklahoma. John Mateer has been insane. And the way they handled Michigan at home, and albeit it was at home, but the way they handled them was great. And Oklahoma could be really solid. I think they do beat Auburn this weekend, so they might even go up beyond this with 2 ranked wins. That would be pretty solid. Then Texas A&M at 7. And not only were they undefeated, but that Notre Dame win was really huge. And no matter what you say about Notre Dame, I know I don't have them on this list, but I believe that they should earn their ranking, and I'll start putting them in once they start winning games. But Texas A&M, I put them at 7. Then Oregon looks really solid. Dan Lanning is an elite coach. Dante Moore from UCLA is so great. That's where they slide for me. And I know Texas A&M and Oklahoma are more proven, but Oregon looks so dominant, and they've looked far better than Penn State in their week schedule. And Oregon has even started Big Ten play where they trashed on Northwestern. Now, I know Northwestern is not great, but going into this game, I think Oregon's going to take care of business this weekend against Oregon State, and I think they do beat Penn State next week. And then here is my top 5. So at number 5, I had Florida State, and I think this Florida State squad is really talented. Mike Norvell is such an incredible coach. Castellanos has looked great, and that win against Alabama, and I know I still have them ranked, but not just beating them, the way they beat them was just so dominant. And even if you look at the score, you might think it was closer than it actually was. Florida State, what a performance. And I know they haven't played anyone outside of that. We'll see how that changes when they play Miami next week. That's going to be huge. And then I had Georgia at 4. Now, I know they didn't look great for a lot of the game against Tennessee, but they found a way to win. And, I mean, they did it to little brother again, where I feel like this is the same story with Georgia and Tennessee, where they beat them close, except the defenses were just gone. And Georgia ended up pulling away with one in overtime. I think they very easily could have lost this one, but I think Tennessee is also a good team. So I think it shows volumes that Georgia competed the way they did. Then I had LSU at 3. That might be too high, honestly. We might have to start knocking LSU. If things don't get better next week, I will start knocking LSU. I'll say that right now. And, I mean, if you pick off a team 5 times in a game and you only win by 10, that's embarrassing. It really is. And obviously that Clemson win isn't looking great, and they didn't look great against Louisiana Tech. I probably should have dropped them already, but I'm giving them a little grace where I'm saying, like, I'll give them one more week. If it looks the same and if it keeps getting bad and worse, I mean, you can't have 5 picks and only win by 10 points. How does that even happen? And also, how did you pick them off 5 times? That's a testament to their defense, but also, the run game is struggling. We were expecting Newsmeyer to do better, all of the above with that offense. But I do give them a little grace for now. But if it continues, I will start to drop them. But I did sneak a team ahead of them in Miami at number 2. Now, I don't think this should really be a hot take. Best resume in the country. Let's break it down. They beat Notre Dame, and the AP poll still has them ranked. They beat Notre Dame when they were number 6, and then they beat South Florida when they were number 18. Now, and think about, like, those resumes. Like, I know Notre Dame hasn't done great, but you look at a South Florida team that had beat Florida on the road, where we talk about how teams win on the SEC, or like LSU, they went on the road. They had to get 4 picks. South Florida beat them on the road. South Florida beat that Florida team. So it's like, that's not as impressive, because it's like, or do you just say South Florida's a great team? And I think they are. And Miami is great. Carson Beck is looking so good. Malachi Toney, very, very great team. And, I mean, honestly, they've looked better. They've been outplaying LSU. They've outplayed the rest of the teams in the top 10, I believe, outside of maybe Ohio State. Well, I really could have put them at 1, but I'm holding off for a week or two just to be sure, because that's the reigning national champions. And if you put them above them, you really need to be sure, I think. And that's my number 1. It's still Ohio State. And Julian Sain is really starting to settle in, and their weapons are great. I mean, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. And then they have one of the best defensive players in the country in Caleb Downs. I mean, Ohio State looks amazing. So that's where my top 25 kind of settles out. And in terms of teams that I snuck in that the AP poll didn't, I think Mississippi State and South Florida were certainly ones that I felt really got snubbed from the AP top 25. And you can see how I'm even consistently moving Mississippi State up. I think they deserve that. And I know the AP poll isn't doing it, but I will. I see you, Mississippi State. I see what you've done. And I'm giving you that number 20 ranking. So that's my top 25. I feel pretty good about that. We'll see how they end up doing this weekend. And in all likelihood, we'll see how much worse the AP top 25 gets. That's going to do it for this episode of the Ben Buzz. I felt pretty good about my top 25, the Buzzsaw. I'm really happy with everything that's going on with that. And then a lot of my ranked matchups. And college football has been giving us really great weeks, and it's been so long without it. So even if we had a bad week, I would still appreciate it, because having any football is far better than no football. So really appreciate college football for consistently giving us great weeks. And like I've said, it will not disappoint. I don't think it's going to stop. We've got great ranked matchups, great atmospheres. It's electric in September, in the thick of college football season, and it really is so far great. And we haven't had a bad week yet. We've had so many great games, and that's definitely not going to stop with a bunch of great matchups this Saturday. This is the Ben Buzz, starring Benny King. Thanks for tuning in.